Hey, I get some likes every once in a while. So, anyways, 12,000 kilometers per year, right? So if it's a 3-year lease, 3 times 12, that's 36,000, right? Kilometers you're allowed. So this is how this is worded. Sometimes it just says, hey, this whole lease, you're allowed 40,000 kilometers, period. Like just 40,000. It's just a one sum that they give you. So you need to read carefully. It's not always going to involve you multiplying it by the number of years to figure out your limit. Okay? And obviously, your years, months, you should be able to get that, no problem. If it's in years, you just multiply it by 12, it's 36 months. If it is in months and you're not sure, divide it by 12, right, to get it in years. So that's that. I think I didn't finish this question here. Who is that? Where's that much energy at the end of the day? Anyways, C on page 33. Let's finish this question. So this question, it asked us to find the mileage charge after tax. So I basically proceeded to figuring out, this is how much I drove. I'm allowed 36,000. It ended up being that I'm over by 5,200 kilometers. Then I took that over to the right here and I went kilometers times the rate per kilometer and I added taxes to it. I got 873.60. B asked you to find the total cost of lease. And this is where I'm going to say, if you don't have a study sheet, you're going to be out of luck. I'm not going to tell you, right? So you're going to have to make sure, if you go to page 30, you should know what the total cost of the lease is. It involves you taking a down payment, figuring out the total payments. So you take payment times 1.12 times the number of months, adding the mileage charge to it. So those three components may or may not always be present in the question, but if they are, you add up all three of those. Back to 33. So when it came to total lease, we took the down payment. We went 310 times 1.12 because we need to add taxes to that payment. We figured out it's 36 payments or 36 months. So this would be what you pay in terms of payments. We added our mileage to it, and then just adding up those three values gave us that. So that's the total lease cost. C is the cost of purchase, right? Cost to purchase the vehicle at the end of the lease, and there's that after tax again. So in this case, cost to purchase, I'm just going to call that cost to purchase. It's basically the residual value piece of your formula. In this case, they give you an exact amount, so it's 15,600. It's the guaranteed residual value, and anything in leasing, if it's taxed, it gets taxed 12%. So 15,600 times 1.12, that gives you 17,472 exactly. So no worries about rounding in this case. So if you wanted to purchase it, you would pay this much. Where did I get the 15,600 from? Very important. If you go all the way up, it says there's a line that says the guaranteed residual value is 15,600. So there's no guessing. The minute you lease that car, you know how much it's going to cost you at the end, provided you didn't do any damages to it, because that would be extra. That's it for 33. So we closed that question. We answered everything. One additional question that may have been asked here is how much would the lease and the purchasing, like everything, right? These two amounts, how much would that be? It's not asking, so we're just going to leave it at that. Okay, so let's do a couple more, and then I'll actually hand it over to you and see how well you do on your own when it comes to leasing, because it will be on the quiz tomorrow. Okay. our quiz tomorrow as example 3. So yeah, the question I had is what's going to be on the quiz. Everything we've done so far. So new, used, financing, like make sure you know how to do the finance, the payments, all of that, total interest, all of that stuff, as well as leasing. Okay, so you can expect a little bit of everything on there. All the ACs we've done have prepared you well so far. So example 3, Sean is returning or is turning in his leased car. The lease says that he can drive 40,000 kilometers. So that's how much you're allowed to drive. You pay 10 cents per kilometer if you go over. He actually drove 44,237 kilometers. Watch this. This is new. He also has to pay $5.35 for paint and body repairs, so maybe some scratches or something, and $75 to fix the chip in the windshield. What's the total cost of his additional charges? So this is only focusing on the additional charges, like the mileage and the repairs that need to be paid when you return it. Nothing with payments, okay? Don't worry about it. Let me just quickly have my key handy here. So I will go mileage first of all. Kilometers over. I'm going to figure out kilometers over. And all you do here, folks, it's easy as this. Watch. You take what you drove, you subtract how much they allowed you, which is 40,000. Almost looks like an underscore. No, it's a minus. Okay, so this one is not bad for mental math, right? 4,237 kilometers over. You're gonna have to pay for this many kilometers that you surpassed your limit. Okay, so let's have mileage now. Mileage cost or mileage charge. You take the 4,237 kilometers. You just multiply that by the rate. In this case, it's 10 cents per kilometer. And then you multiply that by 1.12 because we want after taxes. It didn't say actually this question, but most likely it's going to be after taxes. So 4237 times 0.10 times 1.12, 474.54. Not my, I'm going to underline it like this because it's important, but it's not yet the final amount. That's just the mileage. If you think about it, you have to pay for paint, for repairs and damages. That's like parts and labor. I don't know if you remember, but parts and labor is 12% as well. So just remember that, or remember we're in leasing, it's going to be 12%. Okay, so parts and labor, parts and labor, I'm going to do it this way. I take the 535 and I add the 75 to it. First do that, and then we multiply by 1.12. You have to be very careful, right? Like watch this, 535 plus 75 times 1.12. That's not going to be the right answer because the calculator is going to multiply these two and then add the 575 to it. So this is wrong. Okay, it's 535 plus 75 equals, then multiply it by 1.12. So 683.20. Also important, both of these amounts include taxes already. Because if you look at both of them, there was a 1.12 in there somewhere. So now it's total. This is 474.54. Always show your work, okay? Don't just come up with a number out of nowhere. Take a couple seconds. That's 1,157.74. That is your final answer. It includes mileage and it includes any repairs, damages that have been incurred. Okay, so we've done some mileage. We have done just generic leasing questions on 33. I want you to take a moment because you need to get your feet wet now and try a little bit, and then I'll come back and go over it. Example 4, only example 4 right now. Try to read that and answer it to the best of your ability. Remember, the worst thing that can happen is you have to erase a little bit. That's like zero risk right now. Okay? So go ahead and read that, underline what you must, and then go through A, B, C, and D and try to figure out how to calculate each one of those before I go over it. Okay? I'll walk around a little bit. Let's see. So the mileage charge, we're going to do that here. First of all, I need to figure out how many kilometers am I allowed to drive. So 48 months, if you divide that by 12, right, that's 4 years. So you should always be able to go back and forth, no problem. And so we're allowed 20,000 kilometers per year, right? So I will do this. I will take that, multiply that by 4, and so that's 80,000 kilometers allowed. Okay, I'll just make a note right there somewhere on the margin. I'm fine with that to make it less bulky when we're doing our work. And so I can tell that I've gone over, right? So kilometers over, I'm just going to go 92,350 minus 80,000. And that is 12,000. At 350, right? I'm sure I 350. And I'm going to multiply that. Sorry, I'm going to leave that there. These are kilometers actually. So I just figured out how many kilometers I'm over, right? And so now it's the mileage cost. I'm just going to call it mileage. If you see that, you should know that I'm figuring out how much I'm going to have to pay for going above the limit. And you make sure you add taxes to it because it does say after tax. Okay, so that gives you, if you type that in, that gives you 1,521.52. Okay, so just the mileage over, right? Just about over 1,500 bucks. That's a lot of money. And that's probably not exaggerating for being over. Okay. For B, determine the total cost of the lease. So total lease, basically. You don't have to go total lease. If you just go ahead and start the work, I'm fine with that. But you take your down payment, if there is one. And way at the top, I see it's 5,000. Never tax the down payment. If you remember anything, that's huge. Then I'm going to take my payments, which is $375 a month. Because no taxes have been added yet, I need to do this step right here. You're adding taxes by doing that. And I'm going to say that, yeah, it's going to be multiplied by 48 because there are 48 payments or 48 months. That's all from up here, right? Right here, I was told that the term is 48. Close that. Just add this to it. No taxes added again because it's already been taxed. And then you go 5,000 plus, let's figure out what that is. It's 20,160. No rounding issues there. And I have this in my calculator. I'm just going to add the 5,000 to it and the rest. You can do it beside here or you can do it underneath. That's 26,681.52. That answers the question of the total lease. So when you're talking lease, you'll have to, down payment may or may not be there. The mileage may or may not be there, but a payment is guaranteed going to be there, right? So the bracket part is always going to be there. This or that may not, okay? Oh, after tax. Just make sure, yeah, no, don't do that, don't do that. Okay. See, you're actually losing marks that way if you double tax, right? So don't do it. Calculate the residual value after tax. So residual value in this case, you take the MSRP, right? You multiply it by 0.65, and then we take taxes and apply taxes to it. And you probably are like, why do you always do all in one shot, Mr. Dorson? Because it is the same thing. You could do this first, leave it on your calculator, and take that answer, multiply by 1.12. It's the same as just multiplying it all in one shot. So we take the 35,000 times 0.65, because they tell me it's 65%. That's the value of the car after the lease is over. And I'm breaking my pencil here. I need to relax a little bit. So 25,480 all in. It just happens to be a nice round number, but we'll take it. So this would be after taxes. Sometimes they give you just, this is what it is at the end. In this case, we had to do a little bit of extra work to figure that out. D, calculate the total cost of the lease and outright purchase after tax. So it's lease and purchasing. Like if you were to do both, right? So we figured out the total lease, we figured out the total cost of purchase. So it's basically just adding these up. Total lease and purchase, right? Total lease and purchase. Always show your work, even just so you can go back and check. That one, I'm just going to give you that answer. It's a whopping $52,000 and some. We're probably better off just buying it brand new, right? If you bought it brand new, let's see, 35,000 times 1.12, you would have paid 39,200. Taxes in, right? So, and when I make these questions, I usually research like the payment and stuff, if it's somewhat accurate. All right, so again, it's not always going to be like this. So read carefully and know what you're doing, right? Step by step. Okay, here is your work period content, right? So you go page 36 to 38. I think you have a pretty good chance of finishing. Basically, page 38 only has one question on it, so it seems like a lot. It's not that much. And I will post the answer key so you know that you're on the right track. But don't be distracted by your phones, okay? So take it, use it, get